The handcuffs clicking around Patricia's wrists were the sweetest sound I'd heard since my daughter's first laugh. "You're under arrest for child endangerment, harassment, and assault," Officer Davis announced, while Patricia's face went through more expressions than a silent movie actor. "This is ridiculous," Patricia shrieked, her perfectly styled hair finally showing signs of chaos. "I'm the HOA president. I was simply addressing a community violation." Officer Davis looked at me in my full police uniform, then at my terrified 10-year-old daughter Emma clinging to my side. "Ma'am," grabbing a child and screaming at them, "in addressing anything it's a crime." Patricia's eyes went wide when she finally noticed my badge. "Wait, you're Chief of Police Sarah Mitchell," I said, pulling out the folder that would end her reign of terror. "And Patricia, you just committed felony child endangerment in front of 3 witnesses and a school bus camera." The look on her face when she realized she'd terrorized a cop's kid. Priceless. Let me rewind for months to when this beautiful disaster began. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm a 38-year-old single mother who worked my way up from patrol officer to chief of police in our small town of Brookfield. My daughter Emma is everything to me: smart, kind, and the reason I fight so hard to keep our community safe. We'd recently moved to Maple Ridge Estates, a quiet neighborhood where I thought Emma could walk to the bus stop without me worrying about her safety. Enter Patricia Harrington, a woman who treats every social interaction like she's directing a one-woman show about her own importance. Picture someone with the kind of blonde bob that requires weekly maintenance, designer clothes that scream "I peaked in suburbia," and the personality of a particularly nasty wasp. Patricia had recently bullied her way into becoming acting HOA president after the previous president moved away to escape her. Her first official act was to establish community standards that she personally enforced with the enthusiasm of a military dictator. Her second act was to target my daughter. It started innocently enough. Emma was waiting at the bus stop with her backpack and lunchbox, doing what 10-year-olds do, existing peacefully in the world. Patricia appeared like a storm cloud in a pink jogging suit, clipboard in hand, marching toward the bus stop with the determination of someone on a holy mission. "Excuse me, little girl," she said, looming over Emma like a pastel-colored vulture. "But you can't stand there." Emma looked around confused. "I'm waiting for the bus." "Ugh, not on that grass." "You're not. HOA Regulation 1 to be clearly states no loitering on common areas." My daughter, bless her heart, tried to be polite. "I'm not loitering. I'm waiting for school." Patricia's laugh was like nails on a chalkboard. "Honey, I don't care what you think you're doing. Move to the sidewalk." Emma, being a good kid, moved to the sidewalk. But that wasn't enough for Patricia. Over the next few weeks, Patricia made the bus stop her personal kingdom. She'd appear every morning at 7:45 a.m. sharp, clipboard in hand, ready to find fault with whatever the neighborhood kids were doing. Too loud? Violation. Backpack on the ground? Violation. Existing while under 18? Believe it or not, violation. Emma started coming home with stories that made my blood boil. "Mom, the mean lady said I can't wear my red jacket because it's too bright for the neighborhood aesthetic." "Mom," she yelled at Tommy for dropping his pencil because it's littering. "Mom," she told Jessica she can't wait at the bus stop because her house is technically in the next subdivision. I wanted to march over there and give Patricia a piece of my mind. But I also knew that as chief of police, I had to be careful about using my position inappropriately. I documented everything Emma told me, hoping Patricia would eventually cross a line that would justify official intervention. I didn't have to wait long. The escalation began when Patricia decided the kids were making too much noise. "This is a residential area, not a playground." She'd shriek at children who dared to laugh or talk while waiting for their bus. She started timing their conversations, taking photos of kids who were too animated, and even measuring the distance between children to ensure they weren't congregating inappropriately. When the bus was late one morning, Patricia lost her mind. This is unacceptable. She declared to a group of elementary school children, "You're all loitering. I'm calling the police." My daughter Emma, who inherited my sense of justice, finally spoke up. "Ma'am, we're just waiting for the bus. We have to go to school." Patricia's eyes narrowed like a predator sizing up prey. "Don't you dare talk back to me, young lady. I know where you live." That phrase, "I know where you live," said to a 10-year-old child, crossed every line in the book. Emma came home that day shaken. "Mom, the bus lady said she knows where I live." She sounded really scary. I called the school immediately. The principal, Mrs. Rodriguez, was already aware of the situation. "Chief Mitchell, I've been getting complaints about Mrs. Harrington for weeks. She's been harassing our students, but since it's not on school property, our hands are tied." "What about the bus driver?" "Mr. Peterson says she stands right at the property line, so technically she's not interfering with bus operations. But he's concerned about the children's safety." That's when I made a decision that would change everything. I started working the early shift so I could be home when Emma left for school, but I stayed hidden, watching Patricia's harassment unfold while documenting everything. For 2 weeks, I watched Patricia terrorize children from my living room window. She'd confiscate toys that were too loud, demand to see homework to ensure it was appropriate, and even tried to inspect lunch boxes for violations of community food standards. The kids were scared. Parents were furious. But Patricia was careful to stay just within the bounds of legal behavior. Until the morning she wasn't. I was getting ready for work when I heard shouting outside. Through my window, I saw Patricia standing in the middle of the street, blocking the school bus. "I'm not letting this bus pass until these violations are addressed." She screamed at Mr. Peterson. The bus driver, bless his heart, tried to reason with her. "Ma'am, I need to get these kids to school. Not until they learn to respect community standards." That's when Emma made a mistake. She got off the bus to try to help. What happened next was caught on the school bus camera and witnessed by a dozen children. Patricia grabbed my daughter by the arm and started shaking her. "This is your fault," she screamed inches from Emma's face. "Your mother thinks she can ignore HOA rules, but I'll show her what happens when people don't respect authority." Emma was crying, trying to pull away, while Patricia's grip tightened. "You tell your mother that Patricia Harrington runs this neighborhood, and if she doesn't start following the rules, there will be consequences." Mr. Peterson jumped off the bus. "Ma'am, let go of that child." Patricia spun around, still gripping Emma's arm. "Don't you dare tell me what to do. I'm the HOA president." That's when I appeared. I'd been watching from inside, already in my police uniform, and the moment Patricia touched my daughter, she'd committed a crime. "Patricia Harrington, you're under arrest." The words came out calm and professional, but inside I was a volcano of maternal rage wrapped in official authority. Patricia's face went through every stage of shock as she took in my uniform, my badge, and the very real handcuffs in my hands. "You single quotes read ... You're a police officer, chief of police," I corrected, gently freeing Emma from her grip. "And you just committed felony child endangerment in front of multiple witnesses." Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "I didn't know. I was just trying to maintain community standards ... By assaulting a 10-year-old child, it wasn't assault. I was simply..." "Mum, you have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it." Officer Davis arrived within minutes to make the arrest while I comforted Emma and took statements from the other children. But here's where the story gets really satisfying. As Patricia was being processed, I opened the folder I'd been building for weeks. Inside was documentation of every single incident she'd caused, harassment reports, witness statements, video evidence from the bus camera, and testimony from a dozen parents. "Patricia, you're not just facing child endangerment charges," I explained, as she sat in the back of the patrol car. "You're looking at multiple counts of harassment, disturbing the peace, and interference with public transportation. Her face went white. But I'm the HOA president. Actually, you're not. I pulled out one final document. I did some research on your HOA claims. Turns out the Maple Ridge Estates HOA was dissolved in 2019 due to lack of participation. There is no HOA. There never was during your time here. Patricia's mouth fell open. That's impossible. You've been harassing families and children based on rules that don't exist in an organization that was legally dissolved for years ago. The aftermath was even more beautiful than the arrest. Patricia was convicted on all charges and sentenced to community service, anger management classes, and a restraining order keeping her away from all school bus stops. She moved out of the neighborhood 2 months later, unable to face the families she terrorized. The fake HOA dissolved with her departure, and Maple Ridge Estates returned to being a normal neighborhood where children could wait for the bus without fear. But my favorite part: during the investigation, we discovered Patricia had been collecting HOA fees from 3 elderly residents who didn't know the organization had been dissolved. She was charged with fraud and ordered to pay restitution. As for Emma, she's back to her normal, happy self, though she still gives me extra hugs when I drop her off at the bus stop. The neighborhood kids threw a celebration party when Patricia moved away, complete with loud music, bright colors, and all the violations she'd spent months trying to prevent. Sometimes justice comes in the form of handcuffs. Sometimes it comes in the form of a mother's love. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, it comes in the form of a police chief who doesn't take kindly to people terrorizing her child. Patricia learned an important lesson that day. Before you grab someone's kid, make sure you know who their parents are, and if you're going to impersonate an authority figure, make sure the organization you're representing actually exists. Game over, President Harrington. Hope your community service includes a lesson in how to treat children with respect, badge, handcuffs, and mama bear protection. That's how we serve and protect in this neighborhood.